Alright, hello and welcome everyone. This is Gump and I'm here with my Sentry Set review. We're going to be talking everything Sentry in this video, and we're going to be covering a number of things, including each one of the set bonuses that we get and how those numbers are working actually in the game, which is completely different than what you see on the screen pretty much for the most part. We're going to be talking about how all the marks work. We're going to be talking about how each gun works with this, some things to consider when you're putting your builds together. We're going to be talking about fire rate and how that's going to play into effect of your DPS in this. And we're also going to be talking about some of the issues that you actually run into when using this set in-game because targets don't have enough health to actually make this set work as intended. So let's get talking about this stuff. I'm going to be also uploading my SMG crit build soon. Probably be the next video that I'm going to do that. Let me know if you'd like to see the striker set review first, or whether you'd rather me go ahead and put out my SMG crit build that includes the Sentry Set in it in both versions. I have two versions that I run. So let's see, just leave that in the comments. So anyway, let's go headshot damage. 30% it says that we get, but we actually were getting 45%. I talked about that in the previous video, that the formula for that has changed and it's working as other stuff works in the game now. So any additional headshot damage that you get in this game actually is 50% higher than what it shows because of the way they're adding it. And so we're getting 50% more than 30%, so that's actually a 45% increased headshot damage on this set. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a video up on my channel for that. I'll link it. Our third set, we're going to be getting 20% damage versus elites. Once again, a great DPS stat, probably one of the most important DPS stats in the game for PvE. And if you haven't seen my video about damage versus elites and enemy armor damage and how those two things stack on top of each other, this stat is actually going to be buffing up your armor damage stat even higher, the damage you do with armor. So this actually does more than 20% damage, and it depends on how much armor damage you have. And all this stuff works the same after I've thought about it. And that's exactly what we're going to see when we start looking at this set bonus number 4. A lot of people out there I've seen do videos, and they say that this set, I've seen differing opinions, and it's one of those cases where people don't actually test stuff and they put out stuff because they don't actually test it, and you have to test stuff in this game or you won't know how it works. I've seen people say that this does, getting 3 marks increases your damage by 45%. That is actually not true. It's actually higher than that, so good news for coming and watching my video. You learn that this thing's stronger than actually what people think it is. Another thing that I've saw for differing opinions is that one person can't put 3 marks on a target, and that is also not true. We can put 3 marks on a target. I have to switch over to the pistol here, and we can see that I shoot 7.657 for this shot. We put a mark on, we see the number increase. We put a mark on, we see the number increase. We put a mark on, we see the number increase to 11.645, and it stays there. And that's the third mark, and that stays. Those stay on for 10 seconds each, as you can see as it states. Let me read it out. Headshots mark the enemy, increasing the damage inflicted on the target by 15% for a duration of 10 seconds each. A target can receive up to 3 marks, and so we can mark the target 3 times ourselves. Most people think that, but there is some differing opinion out there that I've seen, and that is a fact. So hitting 3 headshots increases our damage by 15% apiece, but it actually is more than that, and I'll show you exactly what it's doing. It's the same way that the same reason that the headshot damage is more than 30%, and the same reason that elite damage increases armor damage, is because what they do is they take, instead of, so if we did 45% on top of 10,000, then we should be getting a 4,500 increase to bring our total damage, our base hit number, to 14,500. But if you go in and shoot your guns and test it in the range, you'll actually see that that's not the case if you had a 10,000 damage weapon. So what they're doing is this: it's you have a 10,000 base weapon damage number, and after you put on your first mark, your next shot is 15% higher, and that brings your new mark up to 11,500. And then they are adding the next mark to this new number, and you're going to see that that's going to go up by a bigger number this time. Instead of 1,500, we're getting 1,725 on this, and so that's going to be added back to the 11,500, which is going to bring us to this number. And then after the third mark, we're going to get another 15% on top of this new number, and you'll see that that's higher than the last number of 1,700. and then we add that back to the 1325 number. I missed some round offs there, but whatever, this you'll get the point. And you'll see that instead of 14,500, which was a 45% increase, which a lot of people are telling you that you get with this set, you actually get a 5,208. So that's obviously, well, to keep it, oh, well, I lost it. Anyway, that's 52%, obviously. 15,208 is a 52.08% increase instead of the 45% that a lot of people are telling you out there. So that's good news. All of those things are really good news. If you already like this set, it actually probably does more than you realized it does. 45% headshot damage instead of 30. And then the damage versus elites is stacking on your armor, so you're actually getting a little bit more than a 20% increase in the actual damage that you're seeing in game while you're shooting elites with armor on. And then with the headshot thing, you're actually getting more than 15%. This set doesn't reduce the damage by missing bullets like Striker does. So missing isn't the thing that's really bringing it down. It's just a flat 10 seconds each. So 15% increase for a duration of 10 seconds each. So that means fire rate's actually affecting whether you're getting your full damage buffs from this set. And so let's talk about exactly what I mean by that. So if I'm sitting here and I have a really slow fire rate and I'm trying to really focus on the head and shoot it, you know, I can shoot this. And now as soon as I hit that, the 10 seconds started for... Let me dismiss this invite I just got. The 10 seconds just started. And so, you know, we're already back down. We lost it just because we took time there. If we fire 2 headshots in a row, both of the marks are up. And we might have lost like a half a second there. And, you know, once we get to 3 marks, we've lost maybe a half a second on the first one, maybe 3/4 of a second on the third one. So the slower that you get the 3 headshots in a row, the less you're actually going to have all 3 bonuses up at the same time, which is obviously going to be reducing your damage. So that means that that's going to be affecting how each type of weapon works, because when we switch over to an SMG, for instance, we can get a really high fire rate, which they made this set for snipers, but if you can already tell that, and you may have already been using this set in the game for your SMGs, is that since it works at any range, which is why I think they should have done was to put in a range for this thing if they really wanted to make it about sniper rifles, is that LMG users can actually get all 3 marks up faster than a sniper. So we can just fire and bam, I've got 3 marks up for almost the entire 10-second duration for each. And you know, if we put on a sniper rifle here, we can put on the M44, which is one of the slowest firing gun in the game, pretty much. You can see that just holding my button down here and pretty much just firing as fast as I can with it, we're losing a lot more time. It's taken us a lot longer to get the actual all 3 procs to be going at the same time. So there's going to be a period there where it crosses over that you're going to be losing that 1 mark for a second or so. That may not seem like a big deal, but if we're trying to maximize damage and we're trying to understand the set, we need to take these things into consideration if, you know, at this point where we're really trying to fine-tune things. And so, you know, the faster the fire rate, the better. But that also means that if we're trying to increase our fire rate, that may reduce our accuracy. You know, if you may have to, if you want to go fire rate route, you know, you may be taking other damage things off of your gun if you're trying to increase its fire rate. If you're trying to increase your fire rate anyway in game, you may be reducing your accuracy, which may make you completely miss the head, which would mean that you just completely missed a mark that you would have had if you'd have been shooting slower. So there's a lot of things to take in right there. But here's another thing that's really important, and this is actually, I don't want to say that this is the best gun to use by any means. I'm not saying that with the set, but the set that gets the most out of this actual 4th bonus is the shotgun. And the reason for that is because when we shoot the shotgun, we get 8 pellets out of it, and all 8 pellets hit at one time, and it's counting for all 3 marks. So we can shoot down here and you can see my numbers, whatever they are. They're a mix of numbers, 6,000 or whatever. But we go up to the head and we put the mark on, and you can see my numbers are 9,000 or so. Well, there's my 2nd mark, and the numbers are still 9,000 or so. Well, there's my 3rd mark, and the numbers are 9,000 or so. The reason the numbers aren't changing is because actually when I shoot in the head, all 3 marks are automatically up. And so it's not to say that this set is best used with a shotgun, but the set that actually gets the most out of the 4th part of this set is the shotgun, and that's worth noting that if you're going to use a shotgun, this may be the set you want to roll with now. So what we can do with the shotgun is put one is none talent on, which gives us a 50% chance to get a bullet back. And I'm sitting here with a double barrel shotgun. I bought it. It's a green shotgun. I just bought it just to show you guys. I only have 2 bullets in the chamber, and with one is none, we have 8 bullets hitting, with all having a 50% chance to return the bullet to the chamber. And then we're getting all 3 marks to consistently stay up the entire time. So our damage is going to be increased by an X amount, as you've seen when we were doing all 3 marks. I'm assuming that since this is proccing immediately, we're getting pretty much a 45% increase constantly, and we can almost fire infinitely with a shotgun as long as we're hitting headshots, and you'll see that here. We can just keep hitting headshots even though we have 2 bullets in here and our damage numbers are really high. This is just a green shotgun, and you can see how ridiculous this is. So this may be something, if you're interested in using shotguns, you may want to try out. I haven't actually used this in a build yet, but this is definitely something that I may start considering, is using a shotgun as my secondary, because I'm always up and close and personal instead of using an assault rifle. I think that I'm going to end up going with a double barrel shotgun on my Sentry build when I have 4-piece Sentry on, and I'm just going to be doing this to targets the entire time with one is none talent and the Sentry set going. This is one of the issues that I have with the set. Right now, currently, the health of targets in challenging missions is not all that much anymore because our characters do so much damage. And so this is one of the things I've been noticing. Is, for instance, let's say I'm using the sniper rifle in challenging missions, and my character is just, this is a testing character, and like I don't have anything set up. My damage numbers are really, really high already. I mean, there's 500,000 point crits, and I don't even have a character. This character isn't even spec'd out for snipers. So one of the things that I've been running into is that when I run up to a target and I start shooting it, is that I end up shooting the target, and the target is actually dead before the marks even get put on it. And you know, so sometimes this set isn't even proccing because of that. So what I've realized is that in my SMG build, and I'll go in more in depth on it at that time, is that I actually prefer when I run challenge missions to actually run 3 and 3 because my burst DPS is higher than my actual my long run DPS on the Sentry set, because all 3 marks don't get up, so I don't get the benefit of the extra mark on the end. And so what I end up having is the 50% critical hit damage actually becomes more important to me by running a 3 and 3, and it creates less variance with my stats too. I know exactly when I run flat damage numbers versus a striker set or another set that, yes, in an optimal condition where we're standing here and we're shooting it right in the head, strikers and Sentry are going to be better DPS numbers on paper, and they're going to be better here in an optimal situation. But once we get in game, that situation changes drastically, and it's going back and forth all the time. And I can sit here and say, wow, look how great my DPS is. I can shoot them in the head, and look how big my numbers are. But once I get in game, I can't do that. That's impossible to do unless you're hacking. And so there's some really high variation, especially with the striker set. There's moderate variation that you're dealing with this. So your DPS numbers aren't constant with these 2 sets. So that's something to take into consideration, and along with the damage that you're talking about with the challenge missions. Now, once harder content comes out and we end up with more health on targets that we're going to be fighting, I will definitely be focusing more in on these sets, as they're definitely the better long run DPS if the target has really high health and you're actually shooting the target long enough for these things to build up, like the striker set has to build up, and this set has to have 3 shots hit. This is another thing, real quick, this is another thing about the set, and it kind of goes with how we normally play in video games in general. Most people, if you played shooters long enough, and that's what you most people that play this game are longtime shooter fans, we all do about the same thing, and that is we've trained our brains over the years that we have recoil. And my gun has like 0 recoil in this game, but you can see it move up a little. But most guns have a little bit more recoil than the one I'm holding right now. And what we end up doing a lot of times is aiming center mass. maybe in this area here, because we know that headshots do more damage, but we know our recoil is hard to control sometimes. So we'll aim low and then we'll let our recoil pull up into the head. That's a pretty basic function that people do in video games, and that's one of the problems with this set too, is that you have to spend a little extra time aiming at the head, whereas you have to train yourself to not do what you normally do in games, which you've trained your brain to do for years, which is just shoot right here in the chest and let your recoil pull up. And so what I've been noticing when I'm using this with this set is that, once again, I'm not getting the third mark, because by the time I do damage down here and I get up to the headshots, that I'm actually killing the target before I get the third mark in before it even matters. So it's really important that you hit headshots first to really maximize this set. I'm being really picky about stuff here, but that's what I do with my character builds. When you're min-maxing, we're min-maxing. We're trying to figure out what the maximum thing we can do with certain situations and things. And you know, that's an important one too, is that most people's inclination is to shoot center mass and let your recoil pull up into it. And I've been having a huge problem with not doing that when I'm in a hurry and I'm in the middle of a fight and stuff. And so that's another thing to consider. But the higher health the target, the better the set is. And that's a good thing. Once some future content comes out, these sets, the Striker set and this set, are going to start pushing themselves even further past running a 3-in-3 build. But I'll get into more in depth about that and actually let you see the numbers about that once I do my SMG crit build, which will be coming up next, likely. Let me know what you guys want to see. Do you guys want to see the Striker review, which I'll be doing this same thing and talking about some of the stuff that I talked about in this? Or do you want to go ahead and get out the SMG crit build and actually see some of the damage numbers that I'm putting out around 1,000,000 DPS? I'll show you how to get around 1,000,000 DPS with a build, if you can get all the talents and stuff on the guns like I have. And yeah, so let me know what you think, guys. Give me any feedback or any questions that you have about anything, and I'll leave some links to refer you back to some of the stuff that I talked about in here that you may not be quite fully understanding about what I was talking about that I've done in previous videos. Alright, thanks guys, this is Gump, and this is another video. Take it easy.